This is Tim.
I'm Lele.
And this is Critiquing Comics. Welcome to Critiquing Comics. This is Tim with Mulele in Tokyo. The cherry blossoms are blooming as we're recording this in early April. How's everything with you?
I'm okay. I'm a little bit. I've got sinus problems this morning. I don't know why. I usually don't get this kind of thing, but other than that, I'm pretty good.
Okay, that's good. Well, I don't know. Maybe you suddenly got hit with the cedar pollen allergy. You know, that will just like hit you out of the blue. You know, not allergic and then suddenly allergic.
I like to think that I have no allergies.
Okay, well, hopefully you still don't. I'm sorry.
It may just be denial, but whatever.
It's not just a river in Egypt.
Yeah.
As Al Franken used to say. Anyway, this is getting to be a habit maybe of callback to a comic that we talked about before, like the next part of it. John Allie, who we talked about his the first chapter of The Unseen back in 2015 in June. He sent us part 2. He wrote, way back in 2015, you critiqued chapter 1 of my comic, The Non-Scene. In the episode, you and Mulele expressed that you'd be willing to look at chapter 2. So now that it's complete, I thought I'd send it along to you. I also wanted to say that following your critique, I did make some changes to chapter 1. Most notably, I redrew every appearance of Claire to make her look less like an adult and nixed the reader orientation. Yeah, those were both things that, particularly you, I think, commented on, that the reader orientation didn't seem necessary, and that Claire, who I think is a teenager, looked as if she might be the gay lover of the other woman in the car.
Right. Okay. That's kind of harsh, but anyway, the reader orientation I don't actually remember, and looking at the PDF that he sent this time, which has no orientation, obviously, didn't feel anything was out of order. Although I sorry to say it, but I felt that the introduction was a little bit abrupt. But at the same time, to the artist, John Allie, don't change anything just because I said it seemed abrupt. It seems abrupt after reading chapter 2. So for someone who's just reading it, those first couple of pages where you're introduced to the cat without ears, or not introduced exactly, but when you see the cat without ears for the first time, there is a lot to take in. And so it may expand in the reader's mind a little bit different than it does for me right now, coming back to it. But I suddenly feel a sense of responsibility for what I say on the podcast. People actually making decisions about their books on this. So, but
with great power comes great responsibility. Somebody said before.
Yeah. Otherwise, I guess you're just an asshole. And I'm trying not to be an asshole, but I'm looking at the first one again. At first, I saw the art style. I was like, okay, yeah, this project, whatever. And I had some kind of negative feeling about reviewing part 2. But I was like, okay, well, we said we were interested, so let me just jump back in. And I didn't reread number 1, but reading number 2, just kind of like skimming through number 1 and then starting number 2. I remembered how interested I was in the story and actually got back into the story quite easily. And I realized that the style of art is not what it's not exactly in my wheelhouse, I guess. But once you're acclimatized to the artwork itself, if it's not in your wheelhouse, the story itself is actually quite good, and the artwork is simple enough that it becomes a style of its own with the story. The story subject matter sometimes looks a little more serious than the art style does. So it maybe that's just me, but I felt at first there was a conflict, but after a couple of pages in, I'm like, okay, this is fine, and I can just enjoy the story.
Okay, well, yeah, that's a good sign if you could get back into issue 2 without reading issue 1 again.
Oh, just skimming.
Yeah.
But it's just more to kind of remind myself what the story was about, and to kind of, there are a couple of details that I didn't quite remember, like the connection between, sorry, I'm forgetting characters' names, but the one guy with the car and the kids, and then going back to issue 1 and seeing, oh, right, there's the rock concert and all of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't rereading issue 1. I didn't recall that the father, after reading the book, was having nightmares. I wonder if he added that, or if just my memory is faulty.
My memory is definitely faulty, so I don't even I can't even comment.
For listeners who may not remember this and didn't go back and read it, basically the story is about a girl about 10, 12 years old who at the Salvation Army finds a mysterious book written in undecipherable writing. She figures out that if she reads it in the moonlight, then it becomes legible. But then having read that, she causes kind of strange things to start happening, or she begins to be able to see this previously unseeable world with the earless cats, and then other things that start happening in the second chapter. And yeah, a lot happens in this chapter, really. It's 49 pages. It's pretty long PDF for a chapter, but yeah, it's a double size issue kind of.
Well, the first one was also 49 pages.
Yeah, I guess it was. It went by faster somehow. The second one is like, wow, this is still going on. There's a lot going on here.
Oh, it's interesting. Actually, I felt the opposite. I felt number 1 was longer in my memory than chapter 2 seemed to be actually reading it.
Well, I mean, yeah, there was, not that I felt like it was too long. I mean, there was a lot happening, and it was interesting. So
yeah.
And yeah, they managed to track down the guy who wrote the book that she found, and he's in a nursing home, and that scene was one thing there that I thought wasn't communicated very well. So they show him the book, and he's kind of acts like he's excited to see it, and then the panel where he's sitting and it says there's a sound effect flip, and it's kind of flying out of his hands, and I didn't quite understand what was going on there. Apparently he was like supposed to be throwing it away, throwing it in the trash. But there's no trash can in the panel. So what did you get from that panel?
I didn't have any problem with that. I thought it was fine. There is a little...
Yeah, I guess there is. It's
a lid that says biohazard, although...
Oh, okay, that's a lid. I see, okay.
Yeah, I was a little bit curious about why there's a biohazard lid in a nursing home, but I don't know. Maybe maybe that's a joke, or maybe it's something that's actually in a nursing home. I've never been in one, so.
Well, like when I used to work at the military base, in the base hospital, you would see marks like that on
Okay.
trash cans and stuff. In the examination rooms.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, somehow I got confused and thought that was the cover of the book. But okay, now I get it. It's Biohazard written upside down from our point of view. So
Yeah, he's got some Mendel's donuts though. Isn't Mendel's the name of the bakery in the Grand Budapest Hotel?
ooh, that might be.
Didn't see the movie. Okay, never mind.
You know me.
Yeah, it was for a while. It was a bit of an internet thing.
Okay.
But man, that movie is really interesting. You got to see it. Anyway, this book, this story, how'd you feel about it?
It was intriguing. For the most part, I dug it. The only thing was in terms of the plot. So the mother, she's like taking students, like college students, out on this fishing trawler, and they just happen to find this object, or trawl it up from the bottom of the sea. This object that's relevant to the book and everything, and I thought that was just a kind of, general hospital level coincidence to drive the story forward. Like, really? But yeah, other than that, I found the whole thing intriguing. I'm interested in seeing like how. I mean, it's kind of scary, and how are little kids going to deal with this? So Phoebe is 10, and Lizzie's younger than that. Of course, the other girl, whose name is now slipping my mind, she's somewhat older, teenager, but still, I mean, it seems like maybe almost life-threatening situation, or that's the vibe I'm getting anyway.
Well, I mean, it's very much that sort of thing. People commented about, and sorry to go back to movie references, or in this case, a TV show, about Stranger Things.
Okay.
It's set in the 80s, and these kids kind of deal with a supernatural, life-threatening situation. And in one of the scenes in the first episode, one of the kids is riding home from his friend's house in after dark through the woods on a bicycle. And people were saying, well, that kind of stuff just doesn't happen anymore. People would not want that. They would say that this situation is a scary situation. But people growing up in the 80s were like, yeah, that's what you did. You went, you did that shit because you weren't thinking about, oh, I could get kidnapped. And that times have kind of changed. But young kids have always dealt with dangerous shit in the world. And I think adults don't like to think of it that way, but I do remember my own childhood being full of dangerous shit, and somehow I survived. Mm-hmm. Somehow we all survived. And there have been situations that I personally have been in with knives and no guns, fortunately, but just dangerous situations where that could have ended me prematurely through misadventure, through whatever. But I mean, that's just shit kids get up to. And so looking at this stuff here, I kind of feel like, well, that's what kids do. And the kids are curious about this thing, and so they just continue forward. Not understanding how dangerous it is. Although the oldest kid, what's her name, Phoebe?
No, Phoebe is the main character. Well, let's see. The one that he tried to make younger is Claire.
Claire, yeah. So Claire has this sense of foreboding since reading the book. And then the youngest kid finds this that weird thing that they brought up from the ocean and freaks out about it. She's just scared, and I think that kids are more scared than really understanding the danger of a situation.
Mm-hmm.
So if it doesn't seem dangerous, then they're not scared. But as adults, we have experience with this stuff, and so this weird creature that you found in the forest, don't fuck with it. Just put it right there, back away slowly, and don't talk about it. But that's shit adults do. Children will poke it with a finger.
Mm-hmm.
Until it moves or does something weird or unnatural, and then they get scared. But anyway, so I kind of felt that the situations here were actually kind of natural for what kids do, and yeah, dangerous, but I think that that's also natural.
Part one, we talked about it in the other episode. By the way, that was episode 73, if people want to look it up. But the ending of chapter 1, I think we both felt was a little flat. I mean, it wasn't really a cliffhanger. It was just kind of, okay, well, that's how it ends. And I don't know, how did you feel about the chapter 2 ending? It's a little bit more of a cliffhanger, but
well, I'm kind of going back to chapter 1 right now, to kind of seeing what the cliffhanger is, or what the ending is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, chapter 1 kind of ends with a little bit of understanding, a little bit of a question, and a warning. And so, yeah, it sets up a lot of things, but it doesn't really answer anything that you want to know, and it more intros the question, I guess. But chapter 2 also doesn't answer that question and leaves you kind of on a cliffhanger. And for me, there's a lot more importance about the book itself. And so that ending with the book left me hungry for more.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want the thing to end there. I wanted more answers. But chapter 2, it really expands on the world and the concepts of chapter 1, and as it should. And I'm intrigued. I want to know what these things are. I want to know what that world is, and I want them to kind of resolve their feelings about the world and crossing over and all these different things. I want chapter 3.
Mm-hmm. I was just taking a look here. So his website, nonscene.com, so he's publishing this as a webcomic, and he's partway into chapter 3.
Okay.
So there is more in existence beyond what we've read here.
Okay. Excellent. Then I will be hitting that straight away.
Yeah. And so, yeah, the whole story is up there if everybody wants to look at it.
Are there physical versions of this book?
Well, let's see. So he has a store, and let's see, he's selling the first 2 as ebooks, but doesn't look like he's got a paper version.
Get some paper. I mean, it's kind of hard because there's a large investment there, and then you spend the next couple of years selling off your stock, which is kind of hard. But yeah, I think physical books would be nice of this, or maybe when the entire thing is done, to publish 1, 2, or 3 large volumes, and that's it. Unless this series is supposed to go on forever. There's actually another question I had, because part 1 we reviewed in 2015, and then part 2. 2 years later, we're reviewing it, or I guess a year and a half or so.
Yeah, it was June that one came out. So.
Okay, so we're actually a year and 10 months. So given that amount of time between these two books, I kind of wonder what his plan is. If it is going at the pace of a web comic, then yeah, it goes at whatever pace it goes. He's drawn the pages, he's collected the pages, and he's put them out as ebooks. After posting them on a schedule on his website.
Yeah, looks like he's currently putting up a page a week.
Yeah, okay. Then that kind of explains the timing of it. But just for my own sense of consumption, because like for myself, I did not think to look for a web comic. Did not think about it in that format. I only thought about it in terms of, okay, I've got this book that I'm going to read. I read the book. It's like, okay, I want more. And number one was kind of, okay, that's it. Whatever he does, fine, great, good luck. And then we're hit with number two, but it's been 2 years, and kind of coming back to it now and realizing, no, that was kind of a question in my mind at the time, and now it's a bigger question in my mind because I've read number two and still want more. What's the schedule here? Do I have to wait 2 years for the next one? And that's kind of a, I don't know. I don't generally consume comics through web comic style, even though I've made comics like that. Mm-hmm. And also, I can't complain about artists not being fast enough with the material. Being that, my hands are very, very slow as well. But just as far as production goes, it was kind of a question for me.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I'm here.
It's a difficult problem because, from the reader's point of view, you want something coming at a decent clip, but you don't want to rush it, and you've got life going on too, if you're not making a living wage at comics, and few people are. So yeah, it's kind of hard to find that balance.
Well, I mean, it does kind of go into a little bit anyway of binge culture. You're familiar with Netflix?
Yeah.
Okay, and so they're
watching a whole season in a weekend.
Yeah, their whole thing is they started dumping their seasons like that, and people responded really well to it. And in fact, people are looking at other things like, 24, where you get one episode a week for 24 weeks, but one episode is 1 hour, and it's supposed to be all one tight thing. And people just don't really want to consume quite like that. Although, sorry, 24 is kind of a weird example to bring up, but it is something that's supposed to be like hour to hour, but in fact it's told week to week, and it's just kind of a weird thing. This show also sucks now, so I'm not trying to like, hey, 24 is my shit. It was for episode 1 or season 1, but beyond that, it was kind of weird. But with comics, is it better to have one page a week, or is it better to do like a season drop? Because like PDF 1 and PDF 2 are essentially not even season drops; they're episode drops. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, if he's planning to do 10 of these books, can we get all 10 books at once? Or does that mean that we have to wait 20 years?
Yeah. It's reading it as a webcomic, it's like it's 24 instead of getting an hour a week, it's like getting 10 minutes a week.
Yeah. And so the timing of that does feel a little frustrating. Mm-hmm. And so I guess what I'm saying is, can we have more faster, please?
Quit your day job. Just do this.
Well, hey, I mean, as a story, this has got my attention, and I would like more. And I will check out the online comic because I like it that much. But yeah, I'm kind of curious how long this story is going to be.
Yeah, I wonder how many chapters he's planning to run it.
Yeah, because I think one of the other things is that I'm a little bit worried about, is there going to be a conclusion? I'm not saying that he has to guarantee an exciting finish or a great finish or a profound something, but just that it has an end. And this is precisely why I quit reading X-Men, is because it had no end. The arcs just kind of blended into each other, and after 5 years of reading it, I was bored. Shit's fucking boring. And I find that is a problem with mainstream comics in general. They've got snarky opinions and fresh new designs, and they've got lots of energy from young, fresh artists and writers who are trying to do something interesting with these characters that are 70 and 80 years old. But to be honest, there's nothing new there. And saw an interview recently from years ago where Alan Moore said they haven't had a good idea in 30 years. A new idea in 30 years.
A new idea.
Yeah, not even a good idea, just a new idea. And I'm kind of seeing that. And you know, the way that they kind of recycle the same shit over and over and over and restart the same shit. And hey, how about this R-rated version? Hey, how about this new sexy costume? Hey, with red underwear. Hey, without red underwear, because underwear is ridiculous. And
well, or diversity is the thing now. So we'll have a black Captain America and a Muslim Captain or Ms. Marvel.
Then Marvel goes back and says that diversity hurt our books. People don't want to see female, black, or queer characters. They just want to see the white cisgender males, and that's where comics should be. I mean, he didn't say all that, but I think that was the inference there.
Well, it's because the audience is so kind of small. Well, what was it? Somebody was saying it's like comic shops are kind of like liquor stores that only serve hardened alcoholics. And so it's that small fan base, and it's really hard to expand it. Well, and I was reading an article last night about the whole system that. The publishing side of it and the distribution side of it and the retail side of it, the whole thing is a really awkward system that makes growth really difficult.
Well, as a business, it's kind of hard because as a publisher myself, and I'm exclusively publishing my own comics, right? So don't get any ideas like I'm here to publish anyone else. But, basically, as a publisher of my own comics, I have to make a comic. I make it because I like making that, not because anyone asked me to or because I'm trying to fill the expectations of another person. Then I publish it. So, for example, a 40-page comic, I print 300 or 400 copies and spend the next couple of months to a couple of years, depending on the popularity of the project, selling it. And it basically means I'm in the hole for the first couple of months. So basically I've got money to burn. And by the time I make that money back, my financial circumstances have recovered to the point where making the money back by trickle doesn't really mean anything. So I'm always feeling that I'm in the hole, unless I keep it super, super tight. But, I'm not good with math, so no. So as far as comics go, as a business, you can't really you can't really grow something without throwing yourself into it that way. But if you're purely looking at the numbers, you're going to do what Marvel's doing, which is go for the thing that is most popular and give them more of that until people don't want it anymore. But if you start something new, you are constantly kind of looking at it like, does this work? And so they go in for 3 or 4 or 10 or 12 of a certain new idea and then throw it away because it isn't making the numbers. Well, it could actually make the numbers down the line as it develops. You just haven't hit that golden moment yet. But without that sort of support, you'll never get there. And so it's kind of like Fox and science fiction stories. They put them on for half a season and then cancel them because they can't, in some cases, down to 2 or 3 episodes, and then they cancel them because they can't be bothered with long-haul investments on TV. But I mean, Fox is quite famous for doing shit like that. And yeah, people are still angry about Serenity. But anyway.
But yeah, this comic, I sense that it is going to have an ending. It feels like a finite story to me.
Yeah, and it seems fairly responsible in its telling. So I would assume that the writer would bring it to an end, but I'm just curious, how long is this story? Because the first one, you could have ended it there, I guess, and it wouldn't be too much of a problem. You're right. The cliffhanger is not. It's not a cliffhanger. It's just an ending with a couple of questions, kind of Twilight Zone ending. The second one is much more of a cliffhanger, and you want to know what happens next. So this is not where you're going to end, but it expanded the world enough where you see the potential to expand it infinitely. And if this were a Marvel production with a large following, you would not survive to see the ending. Where this artist is going to go, I don't know yet. I would like the story to be, I don't know, wrapped up in the next couple of years. But who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. I can see it going to like a 5th chapter and wrapping up. But.
Okay, but if we're talking 2 years per chapter and we're on chapter 3, that means another 6 years?
Something like that.
Yeah, so that's the kind of the question. Comics consumption, the wants of the reader, versus the pace of the artist. And if he's writing and drawing in real time, how does that work exactly? I'm not sure. I do want to say that I thoroughly enjoyed Chapter 2. Looking back at Chapter 1, I liked it a little bit less than Chapter 2, but I think rather than it doesn't have the kind of nostalgia of, oh yeah, this was an interesting story, let me get into it, and then surprising me and making me happier as the story goes. Chapter 2 has that. Chapter 1 doesn't. It's more of an introduction. It's good by itself. Chapter 2 for me was also very good, and I'm very happy to see this continue. Whatever the pacing is, yeah, fine, I'll deal with it. But Chapter 3, Chapter 4, I'm waiting.
Yeah, I enjoyed it also. So yeah, I'll have to jump into Chapter 3 on the web here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Twitter at Decon Comics, and you are
Mulele Redux at Twitter, or Twitter at Mulele Redux. I don't know how Twitters go. But, to be honest, social networks and stuff, I've kind of been off for a little bit. Here's the mini update. I'm working on Mindgator 2, and it's kind of glacial at the moment, but I'm working through it. I've got a whole slew of other problems in my life that I'm trying to kind of keep down at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, just to make my rent, I'm doing another side project. This side project, I did do one a couple of months ago called Yakai, which is Mystery Night, or Night Mystery. Sorry, I never refer to it by its English title because that was the afterthought. The original title was the Japanese title. So anyway, working on Yakai number 2, which is another true ghost story, something that I saw, I witnessed, I experienced, and the Japanese version will be available in May. The English version will be available depending on how my finances go. So who knows? But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not really putting out a lot of material online. A little bit because I'm so embarrassed about how far behind I am on MindGator 2, but I'll put out a little bit of something. Check me out on Instagram more than Twitter, and also Mulele Redux. In fact, if you look for Mulele Redux, all one word, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you'll find me.
Okay. And Deconstructing Comics has, on Facebook, we have both a page and a group. Kind of just happened that way. Mm-hmm. So you can look up Deconstructing Comics on Facebook. I've kind of fallen off of Tumblr because I felt like nobody was noticing anymore. Nobody'd reblogged me in quite a while. So,
yeah, sorry about that. I also fell off of Tumblr. I'm not sure why. I mean, I've kind of gotten back into it, but only as a point of inspiration, looking at all the other artists that put up a lot of juicy artwork there. But yeah, I'm kind of off Tumblr as well.
Okay. And if you'd like us to critique your comic, send a PDF or a link to mail@deconstructingcomics.com, and we'll read at least 30 pages and talk about it on the show. So till next time, this is Tim.
I'm Lele.
Thanks for listening to Critiquing Comics. What are your thoughts about the comics market? How long is too long for a serial published story to reach its end? Write to us at mail@deconstructingcomics.com. And if you think our critiques are a valuable service to creators, help support us by pledging a monthly donation at patreon.com/deconcomics. See you in 2 weeks.